Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning with WatchTime Live and your audience. So thank you for the welcome. My name is Blake Buettner. I am the managing editor of Worn and Wound. And I regrettably am not able to be there in person with all of you. We would love to be doing this in the flesh. I know last year we coordinated our show times here in New York, and that was a lot of fun. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that again. Today I am really happy to be joined by Oris and be doing this with Oris. I'm joined today by Vijay, who is the president of Oris North America. Vijay, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Blake. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So let's start off. What are you wearing on your wrist today, Vijay?
I am wearing on my wrist today, I have our Roberto Clemente, our release from September. So
Yeah.
big Crown Pointer date. So how about yourself?
Yeah, it's a fantastic watch. I've got on a Diver 65.
Very nice. That's also a fantastic watch.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Yeah, I that Pointer date it's been real popular. And it was just such a huge honor getting to talk to Luis the other day. What a guy and what a watch. So congratulations on the release of that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I understand you have a new movement there at Oris these days. What can you tell us about this, and what do you have to show us today?
We do. So yeah, this morning's session, I'd like to talk about the new Caliber 400, which is our new movement coming. First, I'd like to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know it's early, at least here in the New York area, 9 a.m. So hopefully I'm not going to put you all back to sleep this morning. Hopefully we have some exciting stuff to see. And yeah, so we'd like to talk about it. Like every good kind of show and tell, I'd like to start with a little video maybe, so everybody can just get a feel for what we're going to talk about. So we'll start with that. So there it is. That is the new Caliber 400. It's our brand new automatic movement. It was released on October 15th. It is not yet in a watch, but that will be coming shortly. If many of you have been following us, you'll know that'll be out on the 29th. I can say that at this moment. So basically, why did we do this? Why did we create a new Caliber movement? For those of you who don't know, Oris has been a long-standing independent Swiss brand. We've been a manufacturer since 1904. We've created many movements over our time. From 1904 to 1982, we created 272 of our own Caliber movements. But obviously, with the quartz crisis and the way that the Swiss watch industry went, we began using ETA and Solita movements in our product to help at that time kind of consolidate and save the industry. But we've always been an innovator. Even during that time, we've put out our own movements, not our own movements, but rather our own complications on top of base movements. And then back in 2014, we launched our Caliber 110, which was our first movement in 35 years. And we've been subsequently launching a movement every year since, last year being the PPX of the Caliber 115. This year, it's our first automatic movement in a long time. It's the biggest innovation in Oris's history. And when we talk about like why we did this, we thought about today's watch consumer. We said, what does today's consumer want in a watch? What is life like today? And if we had to start from scratch and make a movement, what would we do? And that's really the rationale behind it. And the movement was meant to bring, as our company philosophy is to bring a good watch to a large amount of people. It's not for the chosen few. It's really for everyone, the watch enthusiasts, people that like a very good quality product, but at a reasonable price. And I think when you kind of see what we're all about and you see kind of this movement and why it makes sense, you'll understand a little bit further. So there's three main things about this movement, which are really good points that I think everyone should understand. The first one, I'm sorry, we're looking to, we feel that with these things that this movement creates, it will create a new standard in, for Oris, most definitely. And I think in the watch industry, I think you'll see what we have for you will help do that. So the first thing we focused on was something that was anti-magnetic. So in today's world, much different than in the world's past, watches are exposed to magnetic fields all the time, whether that's your cell phone, whether that's your iPad, whether that's an induction stove, whether that's something, there's so many things in today's world that are different than in the past. So when we thought about a new movement, we basically said, what do we need to do to make this movement anti-magnetic and really for today? So we went to the drawing board. This movement is entirely from scratch. And there's about 30, the movement itself has 165 parts in it. There's about 30 that are anti-magnetic, non-ferrous parts. And that's whether it be silicone hairspring or something of that nature. There's different things about it that made it anti-magnetic. So, what does anti-magnetic mean in general? So when you think about a standard watch, the standard to call something anti-magnetic is it has to, when it is exposed to 200 Gauss of magnetism, it has to basically not deviate 30 seconds a day after that exposure. With the caliber 400, it actually was exposed to 2,250 Gauss and did not deviate less than 10 seconds. So basically, it's about, putting that in plain English, it's about 90% more anti-magnetic than a standard Swiss movement. So we really feel like that is something that is a really big accomplishment based on, the parts that were created and the development that went into it. So anti-magnetism is one of the really big key points. The next key point is, again, thinking about today's watch consumer and thinking about what they want. Most watch enthusiasts today, they want, they wear more than one watch. So, you put your watch down for a day, you want to pick it up the next day, maybe 2 days later, maybe you put it down for the weekend and pick it up for work or vice versa. So power reserve is very important. And, as we all know, power reserves have been kind of increasing, but we wanted to do something that was very much, beyond the norm. So we created a watch with a 5-day power reserve, 120-hour power reserve. This is accomplished by having 2 barrels on it, 2 mainsprings, and delivering the power of 5 days. Each mainspring works independently, but with that, we're allowed to, we can confidently bring 5 days of power reserve on a full wind. So you can see the barrels there. And so we're very excited about that. And I think, again, thinking about today's watch consumer and what they want, this is certainly something that they want. And then, so anti-magnetic 5-day power reserve, but really the last point I think is the most key point of the whole thing. So the last thing is this watch will now have a 10-year warranty and a 10-year service interval. So even important. So you can, you might say, did we just take our movement, take our warranty and just raise it up? No, in the development of this movement, we went through and did a lot of things that would make it so we can stand behind and offer a 10-year service interval and warranty. And that is, a lot of the creation of how the parts went, of how the tooth profile of the gears. There's no ball bearing in it on the rotor. There's actually a slide bearing that makes it possible. And torque is released it's about half the torque of the normal calibers that we've had before. So certainly those are creating something where we can confidently offer a 10-year service interval. It really was about creating something that was new, creating something from scratch, and really being able to deliver those things and stand behind it. I think it's certainly something that we feel that people will really enjoy about Oris. And I think it's something that, it's a movement that we expect that will kind of come into our line. You'll start to see it in different pieces. I can't tell you which one yet, but you'll see it in that sense. So we really feel it's a strong strong proposition, a strong value proposition. And I think, if I had to sum it up as to what this is, I mean, I think it's a highly technical innovation. It's something we spent about 5 years in total on to create. It's offering features that today's watch consumer wants, and then it's done at a value, and you'll see that as when you see the watch at the price point of the watch. It's done at a value that is very much prevalent in all of our products, whether that's the entry level price points that we have or our most expensive pieces. You always find this price value in Oris, which I think people really appreciate and understand. And it's really about making a good product at a price. And we continue to innovate, and we continue to bring things out that kind of make sense. And that's really what Caliber 400 is all about. So we're very excited about it. So
Yeah, Vijay, the movement looks fantastic. Thank you for sharing some more details there. And speaking of looks, am I crazy, or am I seeing something there in the movement when it's angled just right? Is there an Easter egg here you can tell us about?
yeah, so in creating the double barrels, and it wasn't necessarily done on purpose, but it just kind of looks that way. You'll see that a lot of people are saying, and the people that have seen the movement, it looks like the face of the Oris bear in the way that it is. So it is quoted. Kathleen from called it the Caliber 400. So
Yeah, we got somebody in the chat here actually had a pretty good one calling them barrels, BAR. So shout out to you, Brendan, there for that one. So you mentioned some of the other movements that you guys have developed here, and you've had some pretty impressive hand-wound movements in recent years with very large power reserves. What sets this movement? What differentiates this movement from those movements? Or is there any kind of big main learnings from those movements that you brought into this new movement?
I mean, I think, while those were manual wind pieces, right? So I think, they were very technical as well, offering much in the same way, offering features that nobody really offers: 10-day power reserve, nonlinear power reserve indicator, things of that nature. But this is, our first automatic, and we see this sort of as a workhorse, something that will pervade itself into our line, and something that we can readily use across different models and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, at what point did you begin planning this movement, and maybe tell us about that process? How long did it take from to move from the design phase into production phase, and what kind of challenges or unexpected challenges did you face during that time?
Sure. I think it's it started. It's really fair to say it started from a clean sheet of paper. It wasn't based on anything. It was just designed from scratch, talking about what we wanted to achieve, what features would we like to put into it, and it was really developed. So in all told, from the first sketches to the delivery of the movement, it was a 5-year project. And I think with anything, there are always, there's setbacks, there's trial and error, there's things. So it's like trying to get the best product for the money. And I think that's what we went through. And, in the development process, in terms of, thinking about certain things or setbacks that happen, something, doesn't work as you expected it to. So you have to adjust and keep testing and keep working. So I think, to say there's one specific thing that happened, I don't know, but it's really just that process and having the forewithal, the kind of the wherewithal to get through it and to work on it and do that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
it was really great. And I think the folks in Switzerland, our development folks, did a really, really great job with it.
When you sat down to clean sheet this movement, were the 3 things that you discussed kind of the priorities that you wanted to hit? Did you design to those things, or did you, after the fact, think, boy, this is great, we can add a 10-year warranty on it because it's more efficient, or was that something that you planned to do from the onset?
I mean, I think it was planned to do from the onset in terms of, making it anti-magnetic and making it, the service interval, really trying to achieve something that could bring that across. And then the power reserve, I believe, came a little bit, as a result of it. But certainly those things were thought of. And as with anything we do, I think it's important to, it's well thought out. We didn't just kind of come up with this to say, oh, let's come up with a new movement. It's, the in thing to do, whatever. It's not that. It was just more like, what do we do as a manufacturer, and what do we do that makes sense, from a company perspective, and what can we bring that adds value to the consumer that we're dealing with. I mean, we've made movements for many years. I mean, our first automatic movement came out in 1952. We were a manufacturer for a long time of movements. So I think that's an important history of Oris that people need to understand, is that we're not just, we've had a long history since 1904. We were a manufacturer and innovator, and we continue to innovate. And that's really what drives the company. It's bringing that great product to a lot of people. So,
yeah. So the next question that I have for you, I don't know how much of it you'll be able to answer, but I just kind of want to just in general talk to the flexibility of this movement. Its dimensions, how important were they to go into a broad range in your lineup? Any kind of modularity considerations for being able to add other kinds of complications? How important was this to the extent that you can speak to it?
No, I think it was very important. I mean, the millimeter is 30 millimeter. The millimeters on the movement is 30 millimeters in diameter. It's 4.7 millimeters high. So it's something that, we want to use in different watches. I mean, our own calibers, the manual wines were a little bit bigger. So this is certainly something that we saw as having general use across different pieces. And it's something that, yeah, there's room for different features and different things like that. So I think you can expect to see some stuff from us around this.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. How important do you see for your customers, for the Oris devotees? Do you see size being a priority of theirs, right? Like that wearability in the watches that they're going to purchase, and is that something that you consider in designing this kind of thing as well?
Yeah, I think in general we always consider size, and depending on the general consumer, general consumers still, are one of our Aquas at 43 millimeters is our great, is our best selling pieces, and that size, and a lot of people say with our watches, even at that size, when you put them on your wrist, they don't wear that big because of the way the lugs are and the way it falls on your wrist and that sort of thing. So we always think about size, but we also, think about having that modular ability to kind of go across different things. So certainly, that was definitely consideration.
Yeah. So I know we touched on the bear kind of hidden in there, but beyond that, the aesthetic of the movement is very straightforward. It's very clean, almost industrial looking. Was there any consideration to the kind of decoration that you were going to put into the bridges and the plates here? And how did you kind of land on the look that we see in front of us today?
No, I think, we are not the company that makes the decorated movements. We're not, we've never been that company in terms of, whether that's, for example, last year with the PPX, it's industrial looking. I think the function of the watch and the way it is kind of primary to the decorating or the finish of it. Of course, we want it to look nice. Of course, we want it to do that, but it's not about really making something so elaborate that it's decorated in a very high-end sort of way. And maybe high-end's the wrong word, but just something that's not industrial is what we're all about, kind of that industrialized approach to manufacturing. And again, bringing a good product to we're not the hand adorned, hand made pieces. That's not what we're about.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. I mean, the movement looks great. And again, congratulations. I understand that there are some questions from the attendees. So I'm going to hand it over to Minda to deliver those.
Yeah, thank you. We're actually getting a lot of questions. Thanks, guys. And we'll try to get to all of them. VJ Kurt would like to know what percentage of your future collections will house this movement?
I don't know if it's necessarily a percentage. I will say that, our plan is not to abandon. We're going to be at our price point. I think what you'll see from us is this movement coming into different collections, but the base of the collection not leaving. So we're still going to offer that price point. I think you'll see it, come into different families. I won't comment on to which ones at the moment, but I think if you think about our brand and you logically can understand, I think you'll see it come into different families. But again, I can confidently say we're not going to leave the price point that we're at. So that's not the plan at all. So
Great. Some collectors are asking if they can see the watch again, and then some of the latecomers asking when will it be available? When will the Caliber 400 be available?
So if you looked on our website, if you've seen our website, there's an announcement coming on the 29th. So I'll leave it at that. So yes. So there's some
Okay.
things. Yeah. So we're excited for that.
I think everybody else is too. So this is an interesting one that came in from Jonathan via email. Why didn't you do the rotor for Caliber 400 in the typical Oris red?
That's a great question, because obviously we've done our red rotor for a lot of years. It's something that we've always used in many of our movements, most of our movements. We wanted something that was different. So we wanted to make sure that we differentiated this from the others. So that's why there's no red rotor in this movement, to represent really just how different it is. So
Okay. Yeah. Some questions about partnerships. Are there any more jazz partnerships, or what will be the next watch in the jazz series?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've done a lot of jazz series over the years. We're always kind of pursuing those partnerships. Last year we came out with 2 watches in the jazz series, the Art Blakey and the James Morrison. So I mean, we're continuing to do that. So I'm not going to comment and say on specifically what, but we continue to do that. So I think we've done it for a lot of years. I know it's something that Oris fans love, and it's something we'll continue to do. So
Okay. So Stuart is asking, the Momotaro partnership was a cool direct step by the brand into the world of fashion, especially streetwear and cult brands. Are there similar partnerships we can look out for coming soon?
I think, we always, when we think about partnerships, we think about what makes sense for the brand. Momotaro was a great one. But that was really also about synergy and how we approach things. It was about, brand philosophy. And it was something that we saw as very much consistent with the way we do things, having product being the primary focus, primary product being kind of the entire thing, what it was about. And that's a lot of what we saw with Momotaro. I mean, it was a great piece. Now you mentioned it, I happen to have it here. So this is the piece that came in. So with the denim strap and the battle stripes of Momotaro. So this was a cool collab.
Very
But
cool.
we always continue to look for those sort of things. So
Yeah, I know partnerships are so important
definitely.
with the brands, and collectors love them. Jay, the Caliber 400 is adjusted to 5 positions. Will the chronometer, will it be chronometer certified?
That's a great question too. We at Oris, we don't make it a practice to cost certify our movements, because we feel that it adds more cost to the consumer than is really value added to it. We adjust the movement. Actually, the movement is adjusted to tighter than the cost standard. So it's -3 + 5 seconds, with the cost standard being -4 + 6. So it's actually adjusted to tighter than that. But we don't believe it. We don't believe it adds value to putting that in the cost certification, putting it there, because it just adds more cost to the ultimate end consumer. So.
Okay. So we're just getting so many questions coming in. I'm trying to stay on top of them. Multitasking here Saturday morning, guys. It's great to see so many of you. All right, so Jordan. All right, here's a tough one, VJ. You mentioned that the torque output of the Caliber 400 is about half of your other movements. I assume you mean the Caliber 110. What does this mean in simple terms? How does this impact the development of the watches using the new movement?
Yeah, I mean, basically the torque is the stress on the components. So when you think about offering a 10-year service interval, like there's parts of the watches that will wear out over time, and therefore not be able to have to bring them in for service or do that sort of thing. So when we thought about one of the main goals of the movement was to reduce torque, reduce that stress, reduce that. So that's what a lot of the development was about kind of making the parts so that the stress was relieved. It's about not having the ball bearing on the road or having a slide bearing. Some, things that make it much more apt to have less pressure on the parts and really make them work together. So that's what we did. So.
Okay, so Lightspire said, congratulations on the new movement, a huge milestone for Oris. So that's very nice. Is there new technology, example, oil, metallurgy? Sorry, guys, I don't know these words. That contributes to a 10-year warranty, question mark.
Yeah, so I think, part of the parts, having different materials in them, special alloys in some of those parts, especially from an anti-magnetic perspective, silicon in certain parts also make them less subject to the stress that we were speaking about earlier, and having the different, the tested in different positions, the joules being a little bit larger, that sort of thing. So that's what went into the movement, to make it that way. So.
Okay, awesome. Jim, is this designed to replace current movements, or will this be offered broadly as a step up over the current movements? Oh my gosh, I'm getting so many questions.
It will not be a replacement to current things. As I said earlier, it'll be something that comes into the line, but we will offer something at a entry level price point. We will offer something in this price point with the Caliber 400. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And obviously those of you who are participating, you all know watches well, you know what price points are about, you know what value is being driven. So I think when you do see the watch and that is coming first and you see the price point of the watch, I feel like you'll be pleasantly surprised. So.
Okay. Marco asked, will the new Caliber 400 follow the path of the previous Caliber 110 family, with more and more complications added for successive watch releases over the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we plan to kind of use this as a base for a lot of different things going forward. So I think that's a fair statement. I mean, a lot went into the development of it. A lot went into kind of how it works and the technology behind it. So we're excited to kind of put it out there. Yeah.
Okay, we're still going.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. So Kurt, are there events or plans for Oris to build connectivity amongst collectors? It's an interesting question.
That is. So, I feel like we've always been one of those brands, and we've really been close to the collector community. I feel like even at our price point, we've always been one to kind of get out there and try to do things that make sense to connect with collectors. So, we've done things, whether it's WatchTime, whether it's, worn and wound wind up, or, we've been a supporter of that since the beginning. We basically have done a lot of things with Red Bar and collector communities like that in terms of just in-person events and support. And so we will continue to do those sort of things. We just started an Oris social club earlier this year, which allows Oris enthusiasts to be a part. So we're doing things like that, and we will continue to do things like that. So.
Yeah, I know that a lot of collectors are such diehard fans. I mean, we know at WatchTime how popular Oris is. Can you sort of give us a breakdown of why you think that is, especially in recent years?
In terms of just being close to the community?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's
the sort of cult following that we can see even this morning, and just the hype and the excitement around the brand.
Sure. It's weird. It's funny because I've been with Oris, we started Oris Watches USA in 2010. And, in the beginning, it was, it's a brand. We were always this brand that people knew. If you were a watch enthusiast, you knew Oris, but, I think not a lot of other people necessarily knew our brand or that sort of thing. So as we progressed and as product got released and things like that, I mean, we always felt it important to be close to collectors and be close to people that want to see the product. So whether that's, in New York City, or that's in San Francisco, or that's in Birmingham, Alabama, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, like Canada or in, Toronto or, Vancouver, like these are places we made our effort to go and bring our product to. And I think that's really what's helped us. And I think with the advent of social media now, as I was saying yesterday, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if you were a watch collector, you read WatchTime, you read a couple of watch magazines, maybe you participated on a forum. But now with social media, Instagram, everyone has a voice. Everyone shows what they are. Everyone shows their personality. And we've had the fortunate pleasure of having a well-liked brand that people appreciate and kind of understand and get behind, and we thank everybody for that. Really, it's really a thank you for making us what we are. So
actually, I think that this is cute. You actually have some marketing advice from a collector that I'd like to read. This is
okay.
from Doug. He said, marketing the movement around the bear could be a strong sounding point to attract new consumers during a challenging market ahead. With the recent Omega Snoopy open case back, it caused a press frenzy due to its unique feature on the back. While Oris is industrially focused, you could put a lot of effort into the bear ambassador and can create an anchor term in the industry like El Primero for movements, or animated product names termed like Hulk, Kermit, and Pepsi. So you got some advice this Saturday morning too. I love that. I love that, Doug. Thank you so much.
Yeah, going back to the bear, I mean, the bear has been part of us for a bit, and everybody loves the Oris bear. It's something that it as Rolf, our CEO, says, in Switzerland, it brings a smile to people's faces. Like if you don't like a teddy bear, then there's other things you need to be worried about, like in terms of smiles and what it is. And I think it also shows just who we are as a company. Like we're with the Oris bear, like we don't take things so seriously, right? There you go. Too. So we don't take things so seriously, and I think we try to bring that side of it to what we do as well. It's not just about technical, it's not just about it's more about bringing both sides of it to it, and just being a company that's approachable, and a company that's and that's who we are as people. I mean, it's not anything that we aren't as ourselves. I love working for my brand and working for Oris because I feel like it's a place that you could just be yourself, and there's no pretense to it. There's no no fluff, nothing like that. So
I feel the same way about WatchTime. Being here for 8 years in the watch industry, it's a very friendly industry to be.
yes.
Okay, so we have a lot more. I think we're going to try to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. So let's keep going with. This is an interesting one. Upon service, will the new movement be repaired with new parts or swapped out for another movement?
I think so. Just to talk about the warranty in general, just so everyone is clear. So we offer a standard 2-year warranty on all of our products, and then at the moment, without not talking about these calibers, if you register your watch to Oris, you get an additional 1-year warranty on a basic watch. So with caliber 400. It'll be 2 years when you register it to Oris. You'll get the additional 8. The plan for service is that we will serve. We don't expect the movements to come in for service, but if they do come in for service, we will be swapping movements and kind of moving on from there. So that's kind of how we will approach service. But we feel it'll be a strong, really a strong proposition. Also with Oris registration, we will also be able to remind consumers to maybe after 5 years, just if they've used it in the water or there's some water resistancy things about it, that they might want to check the gaskets of the watch, but the movement itself will have that 10-year service interval. So,
actually, Ancor is asking about that specifically. He says, years ago, the industry standard for warranty was 2 years. Now brands are offering longer warranty, which is great value added to the customers. But since brands are now competing with regards to warranty, GS, I think Grand Seiko 3 years, Rolex 5 years, Panerai 8 years, and now Oris 10 years. In which direction do you see warranty offered by the industry going?
I mean, I think I see it going here. I think by putting a 10-year warranty and standing behind something like that, I mean, I think we're creating a standard. I think we're creating a benchmark, and I think and it's not, we're not doing it to create a benchmark. We're doing it to add the value to consumers. We're doing it to say, okay, you're paying this much money for our product, and we're going to stand behind it for this long. We recognize that, again, everything is relative in the watch collecting world. Everything is relative, but it is, that money is it's hard-earned money. It's solid money for people, whether it's $1,200 or whether it's $7,000. It's all relative, but it's still hard-earned money, and we want to make sure that people get the value from us that they expect.
Two more. Do you see the Caliber 400 as a disruptor or complement to the market? Interesting. If so, how do you envision the Oris placement in the future?
I mean, I see Caliber 400 as, I wouldn't say a disruptor, but I would say certainly something that sets a standard in like, if you're going to do this, here's something to kind of look to and do. And I think, the thing with our brand is, we're not one of the bigger group brands. We're an independent brand. We're, a smaller independent manufacturer. We bring a lot to the table. And I think we don't sometimes always get the recognition I think that we deserve with regard to this. And I think Caliber 400 will really, again, show people that may not be thinking about it exactly what that is. And I think that really is something that we feel will bring to the table. So
thank you. I think you're getting a lot of great recognition this morning.
Thank you.
BJ. Yeah, the community is really great. Kevin is asking on another segment, do you plan to expand the release of more 41.5 millimeter Oris Aquas pieces? Will we see limited editions in this size?
I think you'll be happy with what we have coming in different, we recognize that that size is a good size. Obviously in Aquas, we've had anywhere from 44 and a half down to 36. So 39 and a half, 41 and a half, 43 and a half. So we want to make it so there's something for everyone. So I think you'll see some good things from us in the future in that regard.
Okay.
All
well,
right.
Thank you, Vijay, so much for answering all these questions. We do need to move on. We have our next panel starting in a few minutes. So, and thank you, collector community, for these wonderful questions this morning. So thanks, everybody. And back to you, Blake.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Minda, and thank you again for the opportunity to help out with the show here. Vijay, it's always a pleasure to see you, and just on a personal note, I feel like I see you at all the events, Red Bar, Wind Up, WatchTime, you name it. I just see you all over the place, all over the country, and it's always a pleasure. And I love to see Oris kind of engaging with the community, no matter where they're at or what they're doing. So thank you for having that kind of a presence in our space. All right, well, with that, I think we will close out. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and thank you to WatchTime for the event.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone for your attendance this morning. I know it's early, so thank you.